Turkey, a country known for its interesting history, rich mix of cultures, incredible food, friendly people, and out-of-this-world natural sights. Recently, we spent 2 weeks exploring some of the best Turkish destinations. We started our trip in Istanbul, the city where East meets West. The Bosphorus Strait divides Europe from Asia. Nowadays, this megalopolis, with more than 15 million inhabitants, is not the capital of Turkey, but it is still the most important historic, economic, and cultural hub in the country. Subscribe to our channel to join us in our adventures. In this first episode, we will share with you our whole itinerary and travel tips to experience a perfect trip to Istanbul. Upon arrival to the new Istanbul airport from Dublin, we quickly took a private transfer to our hotel that lasted around 1 hour. It was late and we wanted to check in as soon as possible, but you can save some money using a taxi or public transport. We chose the Turk Art Hotel for its perfect value for money, considering its location in Sultanahmet, the heart of the old city, but also for having one of the best views over Ayasofia from its rooftop. Watching sunrise from up here was the perfect way to start our first day in Istanbul. We had our first Turkish breakfast, enjoying the warm sun rays hitting our faces.
Welcome to the incredible city of Istanbul.
We headed immediately to Ayasofia as soon as they opened its doors, in order to avoid the long queues. Ayasofia, which name in Greek means Holy Wisdom, was built in the 6th century as the Cathedral of Constantinople under the direction of the Byzantine Emperor Justinian I. Ayasofia, a masterpiece of art and architecture, was the most magnificent building of the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire for almost 1,000 years. After the fall of Constantinople in 1453, the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror turned the building into a mosque. Since 1935, with the secularization of the Turkish Republic, Ataturk transformed Ayasofia into a museum, and its upper areas could be visited. Once again, it was transformed into a mosque in 2020, and currently the entrance is free, though there's only access to the lower level by the moment. We absolutely loved its extraordinary interior with its golden decorations, precious stones, and its unique combination of styles. Staying under its large and ancient dome, first of its kind, we totally understood why Ayasofia will always be one of the greatest monuments of the whole world. Our next stop was the Blue Mosque, another iconic building in Istanbul, located just a few meters away from Ayasofia. Also known as Sultanahmet Mosque, was built at the beginning of the 17th century in the classical Ottoman style, and it remains fully functional since then. Crossing its main gate and walking through its big courtyard while listening to the call to prayer from its tall minarets is a really evocative experience. Luckily for all the visitors, the mosques in Istanbul are open to non-Muslims outside the prayer times. Please be respectful and dress appropriately, covering your legs and shoulders when you enter the mosques. Women must cover their hair too, and of course, remove your shoes before accessing the interior. You will never forget the majestic beauty of the Iznik tiles and its interior decoration, with many details painted in blue colors, from which the mosque gets its more popular name. Some sources say that Sultanahmet I may have ordered to build the Blue Mosque to surpass Ayasofia, but we felt that both buildings complement each other harmoniously in the stunning historic heart of Istanbul. We were already very hungry after sightseeing for a few hours, and I was excited to start trying the delicious Turkish foods. We chose some tasty durum kebabs and a yummy apple tea, my favorite beverage in Turkey.
He's lucky he come to a honeymoon for 16 days.
Their whole life a honeymoon.
You look like a fish man, come on. You're very romantic.
Spanish.
Amazing kebab are here, guys. If you don't try, you will cry.
Many Turkish people are truly kind to tourists and they make you feel super welcomed in their country.
We just bought the museum pass for Turkey. This includes all the monuments of the country. It will allow us to save some money because we are going to be here for 15 days, so it's perfect for us. It will also allow us to skip the queue and save some valuable time.
Tastes good. We're just having a nice hot coffee in this cafe because I feel tired. I feel overwhelmed with all the historical information I've received this morning. It's information overload and I have a very short attention span. But a coffee will solve everything.
Chano was very excited to show me this restaurant where he had dinner in 2016. He remembered being peacefully here photographing Ayasofia while eating a freshly caught fish. But nowadays, the restaurant allows people to feed seagulls for pictures and they were very noisy that we sadly cancelled our dinner in their rooftop.
One, two, three.
Nevertheless, we were still on time to reach the big fountain in Sultanahmet Park to capture the twilight over the blue mosque. Afterwards, we returned to the lunch restaurant to have a delicious dinner. The waiters were so happy to see us again and gave us free tea and baklava for dessert. Admiring the beauty of the Blue Mosque and Ayasofia at sunrise with no people around is really breathtaking. The early morning is also the best moment to visit the nearby monuments of the ancient Hippodrome. When Constantine the Great moved the Roman Empire capital from Rome to the Greek city of Byzantium, the New Rome, as the emperor first called it, quickly was named Constantinople on his honor. Constantine greatly enlarged the city, undertaking renovations of the original Hippodrome and bringing its capacity to 100,000 spectators. Today, this place is known as Sultanahmet Square, but in the times of the Byzantine Empire, this famous circus was the venue for the most important sports and social events in the capital. Without the crowds, it's easier to imagine the horse and chariot riders that raced here in the ancient times. We loved the cappuccino that we had the day before, so we returned to the same place for breakfast. We picked a healthy dish and the first mouth-watering San Sebastian cake of the trip. The owners of the cafe have a tapestry store on top too. Located just a few meters behind Ayasofia, the Topkapi Palace is another must-visit in Istanbul. Thanks to the museum pass that we purchased the day before, we could skip the long queue to buy the tickets, and we crossed quickly the Gate of Salutation. Nowadays, this huge complex is an interesting museum, but from the 1460s until 1856, the Topkapi Palace was the main residence of the powerful Ottoman sultans and the administrative center of their empire. Its construction was ordered by Mehmed the Conqueror shortly after the conquest of Constantinople. Inside the palace area, you can admire exquisite collections of holy relics, charming courtyards, and beautiful buildings. But if your time is limited, don't miss visiting the harem. The imperial harem, part of the private apartments of the Sultan, was home to the Sultan's mother, wives, concubines, and children. Many believe that this was a place of fantasy and constant parties, but the main purpose of the harem was to provide the Sultan with heirs, and everything was controlled by strict rules in this official institution of the empire. The Queen Mother was mainly the one in charge, and she would choose the women with who the Sultan socialized with. The eunuch soldiers were in charge of protecting the private access to the harem, a word that means forbidden in Arabic. After a few hours in the palace, we were extremely hungry, so we headed to a little family-owned restaurant near Sultanahmet. We absolutely loved all the foods here, and the price was very affordable considering the huge portions they serve.
It's my first time to try Turkish coffee. Oh my god, it's so strong. It's very strong. I love it so strong. Try it. We just finished eating our lunch and now we are on our way to the Grand Bazaar. It's slightly raining, so we have this umbrella with us, and it's gonna be a perfect decision to visit the Grand Bazaar because it's indoor.
This cute dog decided to guide us for a while.
He's bringing us to the Grand Bazaar.
Yeah. We are back in Ireland.
Lovely Irish weather in Istanbul.
We brought the Irish weather.
The Grand Bazaar is one of the oldest covered markets in the entire world, and it has been the commercial heart of Istanbul since 1455. We are not particularly keen on going to shops during our trips, but we couldn't miss this historic place. Remember to haggle with the merchants. They will always tell you a much higher price that you are expected to pay for their products. We found most vendors here to be respectful to the tourists, but the place was very crowded and it was a little bit hard to film inside without bothering anyone. Be sure you don't get lost in between this labyrinth of more than 4,000 shops. We didn't buy objects, but we couldn't leave the Grand Bazaar without some mouth-watering Turkish delight. We had planned to have dinner at the Fine Dine Istanbul, a restaurant on top of the Hotel Arcadia Blue, with one of the best views of the old city. Unfortunately, it was raining, so Chano went alone and the friendly staff allowed him to just order a coffee while he was shooting under his umbrella.
Ever since we arrived here in Istanbul, I've seen so many shops with these and I was going crazy. And now finally I can taste it. Woo-hoo. This is Nutella.
Chano woke up again very early, this time to film from the Galata bridge at sunrise. The views from this bridge are some of the most evocative in Istanbul. Since 1845, several bridges have been built over this part of the Golden Horn, being the current one from 1994. You'll see people fishing here almost 24 hours a day. We found another fantastic cafe in the Sultanahmet area for breakfast. Excellent coffee again and tasty food to start another intense day exploring the city. We walked for around 20 minutes through the busy streets of Istanbul, enjoying the mix of Western and Eastern architecture. Istanbul really feels like a combination of Europe and Asia.
Yesterday we visited the Grand Bazaar. Today we are going to visit the Spices Bazaar, or also known as the Egyptian Bazaar. Let's go.
Opened in 1664, this covered market is the second most famous in the city. It's also known as the Spice Bazaar because it has been the center for spice trade in the city for centuries. Only in recent times that other types of shops are gradually replacing some of the spices sellers. We must admit that we preferred it over the much bigger Grand Bazaar due to its more manageable size and less crowds.
I saw apple cinnamon tea being sold in one of the stores, but they were busy with a group tour, so I went to another store and I was looking for an apple and cinnamon tea. He advised us that it's better to buy it separately and it will be cheaper. So I took his advice and bought apple tea and a bundle of cinnamon. I'm so excited to try it in Dublin, especially now that it's gonna be so cold when we go back.
Next to the Egyptian Bazaar, the Yeni Cami or New Mosque is another Istanbul landmark to add to your itinerary. Built in the 17th century, the interior of this Ottoman Empire mosque with its Iznik tiles is incredibly beautiful too. Something that you shouldn't miss in a visit to Istanbul is to eat fresh seafood in one of the restaurants located at the lower level of the Galata bridge. We chose this one for the good reviews and they were totally right.
We loved the lunch so much. They are very tasty and they're not that expensive. And with this amazing view, it's really worth to come here and have your meals. And then they gave us free desserts and tea, black Turkish tea. I love Turkey. I will keep coming back here.
Before crossing to the more modern side of Istanbul, we spent a good time enjoying the coming and going of the boats cruising under the Galata bridge. On the north side of the Galata Bridge, the district of Beyoglu has some of the most famous spots in the city. This area, with its long shopping street called Istiklal Caddesi, feels even more European than the old city. And it was a predominantly Christian neighborhood until 1923. The nearby Galata Tower is a symbol of this area, surrounded by busy streets with a modern and bohemian atmosphere. Due to the long queue and the proximity of its closing time, we didn't climb to the top of this Genovese watchtower built in the 14th century, but the access to the monument was included in our Turkey Museum Pass.
Oh my god.
Instead of having dinner, we chose to treat ourselves with another great coffee and some of the best cakes in the city in the nearby Viyana Kahvesi. A sweet end to another unforgettable day in Istanbul.
We are trying San Sebastian cheesecake again. Oh, it's full of chocolate. Oh my god. Man, it's so good. Wow.
Our last day in Istanbul started by visiting the nearby Basilica Cistern. We went there a few minutes before its opening time to avoid the long queues and to see the site without crowds. The entrance wasn't included in our museum pass, so we paid 15 euros each. It may seem a little bit pricey, but we had never seen a place like this in our trips. We were completely amazed by its outstanding architecture. With more than 300 marble columns, this engineering masterpiece, built in the 6th century by the Byzantines, is the largest of the numerous ancient cisterns that lie beneath Istanbul. Nowadays, the access to the building is possible by keeping the cistern with very little water. But for centuries, the 80,000 cubic meters of water that can be held here were used by the inhabitants of this part of the city. Don't miss the enigmatic Medusa heads, whose origin and meaning is still unknown. We really liked the coffee and the food from the previous day, so we repeated in the same place for breakfast.
Thank you. Finally, I'm going to try the famous Turkish roasted chestnut. I have been looking at this since we arrived. Still hot. It's good. I love it. It's a perfect snack after our breakfast.
We love walking when places are nearby, but Istanbul has a very affordable and efficient public transport system. We got an Istanbul card that can be used by 2 people and topped it up with the exact money that we had planned to use. Just 30 minutes later, and we went down in the Fener bus stop to visit Balat, one of the most colorful neighborhoods in Istanbul. Historically, Balat was home to a large community of Jews since the 15th century, with also a wide variety of other ethnicities and religions, like Armenians, Bulgarians, and Greeks. But since the beginning of the 20th century, the area has been mainly inhabited by Turks. In recent years, Balat has attracted a lot of tourism, with many of its charming houses being renovated and painted with vibrant colors. Wandering around its lovely streets, you'll find plenty of cafes, restaurants, B&Bs, stores, and boutiques.
What are you selling?
If your wife tells you that she's gonna carry her camera, don't believe.
Lunchtime has arrived and we were so excited to keep trying new Turkish dishes.
So far, we've been loving all the Turkish foods that we've tried. I don't mind coming back here to Istanbul just to eat food.
From the Fener Pier, we took one of Istanbul public ferries. For less than €1 per person, we cruised along the Golden Horn, enjoying the incredible views over Istanbul from the upper deck of the ferry. Once in the wide Bosphorus Strait, we started seeing the Asian side of the city, the last destination of our day.
In just 15 minutes, we are now in another continent. Welcome to Asia!
Sunset was approaching and we didn't have much time left, but we didn't want to miss stepping on the Asian side of the city. From here, the view over the recently restored Maiden Tower with the old city in the background is one of the most iconic of Istanbul.
Ice cream, ticket, over, come on, woo, over. Ice cream, ticket, no, oh, come on, woo,
Finally!
Yeah.
You want ice cream?
Yes. I don't want. Me, don't want.
But it's true that their ice cream is very hard. It doesn't melt quickly. You almost need to chew. You want? Ice cream!
That ends our first episode of our Turkey travel series. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to our channel to support us and to follow our adventures. Don't miss our next episodes because we will show you more breathtaking and wonderful places in Turkey. Next stop, Cappadocia, the land of beautiful horses and the most surreal rocky landscapes that we have ever seen. Thank you so much for joining us, and please don't forget to like this video. Until next time, keep exploring, rain or shine.